Hello, everybody. It's your old friends at Nerds of Rust, and welcome back to the Best of All Worlds podcast. Joined as ever by myself, Jonathan, and as ever, Captain Jerry Soul at the helm once more for another episode review. Jerry, how are you doing this fine evening?
Good, very good. We just came off a very exciting weekend of Comic Con.
Hmm.
Sorry, specifically Dublin Comic Con, I should say. Great weekend. Another absolutely fantastic show. Big crowds. Lots of great guests. We did. With the cast from GTA 5 was there. We had John DiMaggio, who does the voice of Bender from Futurama.
Amongst
We had
others.
amongst other, yeah, many others. We had Mark Shepard from Supernatural fame. We had Craig Fairbrass, who was in the new One Piece show as well. He was Ghost from Call of Duty. So really, really fantastic weekend, absolutely amazing weekend. And to top it all off, I discovered the during the weekend that it will be me who gets to interview the absolutely fantastic Kate Mulgrew,
Hmm.
Captain Janeway herself, when she comes to Dublin Comic Con in August. So absolutely fantastic news. Um, there is more guests to be announced for that, but yeah, for me it's all about the captain, and I'm like, oh, just when I found out, I was just like, oh, it's just flabbergasted. It's just fantastic news. The great that the fact that we are getting a captain, but not
Hmm.
just any captain. It's Captain Janeway herself. I'm like, oh, sweet Jesus, this is just a dream come true. Anyway, for me, an absolute dream come true. I get not only to meet her, but to actually sit down and chat with her on stage, and I just think it's going to be fantastic. And I can't wait till August now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like it's actually quite appropriate with the episode that we have today because it is a
Yeah.
Voyager episode, and as I said, like it just seems almost fitting. Like it's almost a sort of like convenient like twist of fate
Yeah.
that we get to remark on what is going to be quite a very prominent episode for Janeway, just on the basically on the eve of psyching yourself up to meet the genuine article. So should be interesting. But yeah, so as I said, like we are as the title says, we are going to be going back into Voyager this episode, um, not too far away from when we watched Year of Hell, to be fair. But we've been adamant that we're going to watch some good Voyager, because we've had Voyager footing the league table for quite some time now, and that just seems unfair.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get our fill of a Voyager here at the moment. So as part of our dark slash horror arc, dark arc, we call it dark arc because that's a nice rounded name.
Let's
Dark
go with
arc,
Dark Arc. Yeah.
dark arc, yeah. So we started off with Genesis, which is our next generation entry, and again, dime a dozen there when it comes to next generation. There's quite a lot of dark and horror episodes. We went with Genesis, just to kind of be different to the rest of them coming up, and so now we're going with the Thaw, which is, I suppose, a more psychological kind of, you know, like a sort
Yeah,
of a
it's
Friday
more
the
a
13th.
psychologically thriller type of thing. It's not
Yeah,
necessarily scariest, but it's definitely dark, and it certainly makes you think.
yeah.
It's one of the thing is this is one of those episodes that I wouldn't have watched as much as other episodes. I
Hmm.
think whenever I do a rewatch of Voyager and Deep Space Nine, I kind of go to my favorite episodes,
Hmm.
and not that this isn't a good one. It's just one of the ones that I tend to overlook.
Hmm.
So I'm actually quite glad that it's part of this. So I'm like, actually sit down and actually analyze it properly rather than just watch it. It is definitely one of those very unique Voyager episodes, I will say. It's a different one. So yeah, this should be good.
This is quite interesting because I like the Thaw is actually one of those ones I do kind of actually earmark as a really strong Voyager episode. But it's also one of those ones where it's from where you would see it in the season, it kind of feels like it's a bit of a throwaway episode because it
Yeah.
starts building up to other, shall we say, more prominent story built episodes, like because this I think this would have been a couple of episodes removed from the basics two-parter, so obviously they're building up to the Kazon arc from the few episodes beforehand. I think is it State of Flux, I think, is in the season as well, so there's a few other things that's gone on there anyway, so there's already did be different mini arcs, so you think this is going to be a throwaway episode, but to me, and again, I'll probably get into this in the review. I think this is perhaps one of the stronger Janeway episodes you'll get in the
Yeah.
season and in the run. And I'll get into why in the review. But perhaps it'll become apparent as we're watching. But either way, That being said, Jerry, are you ready to watch the Thaw?
I'm ready to rock.
Very well. So, as you guys know at this stage, again, this is the 32nd episode. I hope you would know by now. But in case you're new to the show, this is literally the best of all worlds. This is half watch along and half review. So, if you want to watch along with us with our alternate commentary, you can just press play than we do on the streaming platform of your choice. And you can listen to our thoughts on the episode as they happen. If not, give us about 45 minutes on the video, and then we'll get you your trivia and our actual review of the episode after that. But either way, hopefully you'll enjoy either one of two halves, if not both, because that's the whole point of the show. So in any case, Jerry, I'll count you in then on 3, 2, 1, engage. Just paying homage there to the French Canadian Janeway.
Hell of a start, by the way.
Smooth jazz. I'm giving an automatic point in the score there for the for Harry Kim. Yeah, well, Ensign Bathurst is a stupid name.
Now you'd think, though, wouldn't you? You'd think it's the 24th century.
Mm.
Okay, well, he just answered my question there. you'd think you'd be able to fucking soundproof the rooms, wouldn't you?
Mm. Well, yeah, apparently baffling just goes out of practice after the 22nd century. Turns out humanity had enough of podcasts and they just got rid of audio equipment completely. I think it was the 4,000th episode of Diary of a CEO that was the nadir for podcasting. Finally, everyone got sick of that guy. Wow. Wow.
Dirt. Pure
Okay.
fucking filth in
Absolutely.
Voyager here. Pure filth.
I see. So again, I can tell what season of Voyager this is because Tom Paris is still a shagger. Like, poor Tom Paris's character just does a lot in this run, but he's still proverbial maverick in this. And again, you can tell what season it is just from the hairstyle.
Yeah. And Neelix Yuk's less hairy.
Yep. Neil explained the Deanna Troy spot here of Captain, I'm sensing a bad presence here.
Did a lot more than that. They were hit by magnetic storms and extreme levels of radiation. Those versions are received. Our fear seems to move different. Did anyone survive?
Once again, humanity proven to be the wrong answer.
Indications are.
What is the estimated population?
Approximately 400,000.
My God, that's almost a full cork. Just someone going, fucking freezing. What's the fucking kettle on?
The whole thing that came into my head was, have you got €2 for a hostel? That just came up in my head.
Sorry, buds. I've been frozen for 400 years. Could you spare a few quids for a bit of soup and a sandwich?
The one thing I will say about Voyager is, and I think we probably discussed this before, it really does have one of the better intros.
It does, yeah.
Because
intro game is very strong.
It's a fantastic team tune. But then the visuals are just. I think this was when Star Trek was kind of going more into digital than physical, like ships and stuff like that. So there was more digital with this, and it's just fantastic. When you get into like seasons 4 and 5 and onwards, the graphics just become top notch. It's such fantastic. Now, one thing I will say is that when you look at this show and even the likes of Deep Space Nine, and then of course with Enterprise, they're now over 20 years old. In
Hmm.
terms of graphics, they still hold the test of time.
Yeah.
They still look fantastic. Like you look at that shot right there, just it's fantastic. It really,
Hmm.
really is.
Like it's mad, isn't it? The way like yeah, like I think especially with like certain like I'm thinking of the Marvel universe there that almost is like cheapened the CGI to a
Yeah.
almost criminal degree. And yeah, look, like CGI is
Mm.
relatively cheap now and it's almost over relied upon now. So
Yeah.
when a movie or a TV show comes back around and does their scenes with as much either animatronic or physical things as possible, it's genuinely applauded because there's
Yeah.
actually an art form to it, you know?
You can also tell which shows had the bigger budget because you look at something like this, and the
Hmm.
budget is obviously huge. But then you look at, say, something like Babylon 5, great show, but the graphics just
Oh yeah.
never equaled Star Trek. Never.
Oh no, it is like while you're watching two different shows mashed together. As a colorophobia warning there for those watching. There's a clown in this. And don't worry, not played by Tim Curry.
I'm not a big fan of clowns.
No. This is probably why you were dreading this episode ever so slightly. I don't think like he's more of a mime to me than a
Mm.
clown, to be fair.
He doesn't look like a typical clown, so like it's not
No.
too bad. Like,
Yeah. More of a kind of vaudeville clown more than anything
mm.
else. Oh look, he's so excited. He's like, I found
Mm.
it. Captain, I did the thing. Hmm.
Are there any automated security systems? We triggered the do not disturb sign. I don't want to set off anymore.
As I was saying, like at the start, like this just feels like an episode of the week type of Planet of the Week type episode.
Mm.
Okay, well, bring your medical.
Hmm. They loved doing this as well, didn't they? They loved to have cryogenic status in Star Trek.
Yeah,
Like I think nearly every series had at least some cryogenics in it.
yeah,
Like the original series had that's how they found Khan.
yeah. Well,
Um,
I suppose you have to understand when it comes to this show, like the
hmm.
next between the Next Generation and Voyager, cryogenics was actually really new,
Yeah, yeah.
like in real life. And so they were like, we want to really. It's like this is exactly what it's going to be in the future. We don't
Hmm.
even now, like 20 odd years earlier, we still don't know if that's the case.
Yeah.
We have no idea exactly how it's going to go.
And it's also like it is a very science fiction premise as well. You could like this is something that would have been written in the 50s as a kind of like, oh well,
Yeah.
in the future you can freeze yourself, and once we're able to cure a brain cancer, you'll be awakened. It is that's a science fiction pitch, you know. So it's nice to see the trope still being kind of tickled every now and then, you know.
It's not just scanning the brain function. It's sending a data stream back to them as well.
What if you had a years ago?
The captain knows. The captain knows.
Yeah. They call it the monodeck.
So what went wrong? Why?
The system was supposed to bring people out of hibernation 4 years ago. Well, was not entirely. Programmers obviously wanted the system to decide for themselves when it was accomplished by a subroutine that periodically displayed how it's been.
So basically, you gave them an exit game option, and they've all said no. How good was the game?
No, that's what's so odd about this. As far as I can tell,
come on up and down the hilltop.
I don't know. Maybe they like it.
Knock, knock. Who's there? Inadvertent doctor. Hmm. How do you make a brain go cold turkey? What if we had some sort of AI rehab we could use? Maybe we'll just kind of like, downgrade you to like a PlayStation 5. Like with a VR headset, obviously. We're not monsters. And then eventually we'll get you onto like, say, I don't know, a Dreamcast, maybe? That'd be nice, Maybe a little, maybe like an MMORPG in between, And then eventually after like say week 5, you can actually touch some grass. I love the Smash Bros. I have no idea what to do next. Anyway, let's get you in there, Harry.
Yep.
Like it is literally that meme from fucking Neo Magari. Get in the robot, Shinji. Get in the fucking pod, Harry. Do your job, Harry. Get that promotion, Harry.
You're going to stay in Ensign forever, Harry. Wouldn't be gas if they actually did create a legacy show and Crusher, so Ensign Crusher, actually outranked Ensign Kim because he's still an ensign in the 25th century.
I feel like they have to kind of do it for the skit now. Like they have to say like, why is he stayed at rank? Probably because like he's like done something calamitous. Like he probably was a captain at some stage and he's been downgraded since because he fucked up. Like that would be the joke.
It's actually him that destroyed the Enterprise E.
It's the last time I bring on him to be my tactical officer. And there's that sudden change in tone we were looking for.
Yep.
Captain, we appear to have encountered the Cirque du Soleil crew in the holodeck from simulation. None of these people are here by choice. Yes, they certainly look like it. I love the design of the clown character. There's something genuinely unsettling about it. Ah, checkmate. And there's the nightmare part of it, being forced to dance. If you just had more suits around, this would be the exact same thing as an Irish wedding. Come on, Tommy. Come on, Tommy. It's time to go for the guillotine. Come on. Ah, yes. Palm strikes. Palm strikes.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
This looks bad. Oh my God, it's John Pender.
I was actually going to say Dennis, but okay.
Going for two very niche jokes there.
One's a bollocks and the other one's a bollocks.
There you go. Of different scales. Audible gasps. Royal we is decided.
This is my world. My festival.
What is going on? Who is he?
You will talk to me. And don't understand that yet. You don't accept life form or some kind of computer virus that penetrated this.
For any old people watching, this is exactly how TikTok works.
Oh.
Oh no, you hurt my feeling.
But this program, nothing left in the system. See the technical mind at work. It seeks diagnostics, data analysis. There's more data in your mind to analyze, diagnose error. Yes, I am merely what has been created and is being created by his brain, her brain, and now yours and yours.
That is such. The camera work in this has been tremendous.
It's been a real pleasure, but we're leaving. Come on.
You leave, one of them will die. One of them will die. Try it and see. If you leave, you heat up. It's already killed two of our colleagues.
How is that possible?
I cut off their heads.
But none of this is real.
Of course it's real. Real is a nightmare.
Hmm. Doesn't suppose you know any Freddy's by any chance, Clown, do you?
Unmanageable stress, perhaps. Unmanageable fear. The fear of losing a head, perhaps.
What's taking them so long? Life signs are stable. There's no interruption in brainwave activity. Every fault that routine is functioning, the window open for it on schedule. Captain, the norepinephrine levels are rising. They're well above baseline. Some of that is to be expected, but these levels indicate abnormal stress.
Like they're traps.
Issue resuscitation. The body temperature is rising. What happened? Bodies are returning to stasis condition, Captain.
Someone's terminating people command from inside the system.
Like already, this kind of has the air of a Black Mirror premise, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No mistake. You'd be missing an opportunity. Running to the bedroom. Trying to trick me. I know everything you know, Harry Kim. I know how much you miss Libby. know how you can never hit that G sharp in the Mozart concerto?
Ouch. I'm not sure which one of those two hurts the most.
This is your chance to send the outside world a message. So tell them your demands. I have only one demand. To exist.
Then you better let us tell them.
Otherwise, you run the risk of our people shutting down the whole system. Because I promise you, let's stay.
At least Moriarty just like, when Moriarty kidnapped people, he served them tea and crumpets.
Mm.
Like, there's levels to this,
It's almost as though he read our minds. He seems to know what we're thinking.
He's generated by the system, and our brains are monitored by the system. So yes.
He's just having a lovely time.
We die. They die. He becomes my best friend. She married. Oh, she's like a dear old mother.
No, I think she'd kill Harry.
In a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat. Like, you're not getting any fucking promotion, so acceptable losses.
Her body temperature is rising. She should regain consciousness in about 12 minutes. At least we'll finally get the answers to a few questions.
No, you won't.
No. Yes, I will.
Won't.
Stop it.
If they're demanding.
Very small thing, but even the lighting being a little bit more pessimistic in this is a good touch. The death stares like shut Neil,
Yeah.
shut
the fuck up, you hairy
fuck up.
bastard.
We have to come up with a safe.
Some sort of pigeon post, perhaps. They're a cheery bunch, aren't they?
Very.
To help Jan. You will a few months of this.
Be fair, that was a very funny joke he said.
With us, he practices his ghastly art. Thinking about escape, are we, Harry? Naughty, naughty. I don't like those thoughts. We're going to have to do something about that.
He's new. He can't help thinking about getting out.
He can! You don't think about it anymore. Oh, but he's new. If you're old, new and old, old and new. Well, then the answer is to simply make you old, Harry.
Smash cut to age. Now that's what he'd look like in Star Trek Legacy. Like if he's in his 70s and he'd still be an ensign.
Take care of yourself. Yes, I want to know.
I know it's going to be a dark episode, but it's kind of funnier, to be honest. I want to know more about the guy hiding under the mask. He seems like a good crack.
It's not. It's an illusion. When your only reality is an illusion, then illusion is a reality.
I meant the gong noise myself.
The thing we have to fear is fear itself. I thought we were going to be friends. Didn't want to do this, Harry. No, I didn't want to bring this up in front of the others, but I know what really scares you. I know when you were 9, your parents took you to that colony, radiation disaster, humanitarian mission. You visited a hospital. You never
Uh-oh.
wandered off by yourself where you weren't supposed to be. We have to fear itself. You saw people and things you weren't supposed to see, sick and dying.
This is why I think mimes should generally be outlawed. Like, this is what they would do if they were allowed to speak.
Your legs are restrained, aren't they? It's like that little girl you saw on the operating table. Doctor called for a scalpel. She looked at you, face filled with fear. Fear.
Hey! Go fuck yourself. I'm a hologram.
I don't know anything about you. You're not on the system. I can tell you all about myself in a more appropriate time. For now, suffice it to say that I verify the Oracle of technology. Now, let's get down to the issue. So, how am I supposed to negotiate if I don't know what you're thinking? I have a very trustworthy faith.
I'm gonna point me that line. That's just hilarious.
Liar! Get over here. I require a recalibration of the electronic pathways. Liar! After all this time, you think I can't tell when you lie?
Away with you.
Brain. This the lives of the hostages rather than leave them under your control. Who's she to tell me what I have to do? She's the one out there with the off switch in her hand. There we go, Harry. I'd rather die than spend my life in here with you. She knows
Oh,
that.
that's mean.
Again, very true.
If that one gets sick and dies, no, I need them all. Now go away.
What if all three of them get sick and die? You haven't thought this through, Clown. Verse, I feel like you're just not contributing enough to the conversation here. Maybe you should just cheer up a bit, you know?
I can't allow that to happen. We're going to have to mount some kind of rescue.
Doom.
Rescue from fear. Sounds like a Kurt Russell movie. Fear escape.
Very smart to reject the whole notion of a simulated brain. It just wouldn't be the same. There is no way an artificial intelligence can replace actual brain.
I'll have you know I can experience fear when I'm programmed too. See? Straight away.
Electronic pathways have nothing to do with the neural interface. It doesn't make any sense.
Then perhaps he had another reason for saying it. How do the electronic pathways function?
Technobabble. 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 Ding.
Simple. That entire world and its characters, piece by piece. If we can, then we might be able to remove the environment from the composition.
It's literally that sketch. No, he just moved it from the environment out of the environment. It's no longer in an environment.
How long will it lock these pathways? I'm not sure how many there are, and I'll have to do it manually because I don't know how to program system. You'll end up
Oh,
Poor baby.
oh, the dums. I'm no longer fear, I am melancholy. Huh? You've ruined my insect game.
My sweet captain has a new office name. No simulated brains. I want real brains. The captain is prepared to give you a cloaking device. I already have a cloaking device.
See, it's purple. Oh, I could be sneaky as well as evil.
There are almost 40 pathways to disable Captain, but I should be able to get it done in under 2 minutes. Good. Let's get started.
We will return your entire computer system to the subterranean locale where we found it. With the help of Mr. Kim and a team of Starfleet engineers, it will be an easy matter to install the cloaking device, which will ensure your safety for the foreseeable future. Harry, is this possible? Yes. I hope I believe you. I don't know yet. But I'll know soon if you tell the truth. You can't fool me.
That's what you think.
Wow, 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 wow.
Yeah.
The safety of the hostages. Warm and no person. I'd love her to come to one of my parties someday. I promise to take really good care of my guests. Maybe more than friends. Maybe colleagues.
Drinking buddies, even.
What's happening? You tricked me. It's an attack. It's an attack.
I was hoping that it actually would start blaring red, but oh boy, we get to see an execution. Fantastic.
Woohoo!
This is great.
Halfway there, Babam. Captain, it's your son. His norepinephrine levels are rising sharply.
Now, please, Yorsa, resist more. It's important that you do.
Touch the bus. Locked out. Have to disable it.
Why is it about a guillotine that makes it seem so harmless when it's colored pink? Like, like,
Come on,
sorry.
doctor.
Yeah, I'll do.
Just check more pathways.
My God, Yorsa, you really do scream like a girl.
Oh no.
Oh, he's in trouble. He's in serious jeopardy. There, look at Fear takes his head off once more.
Captain, this one's norepinephrine levels are pushing critical.
You don't know what that's. You don't know what that's.
Restore the entire program.
Start the music. Start the music.
Da-da-dum.
Dun dun dun. Oh, she's getting Janewaying up.
Mm-hmm.
Or holiday adventure. Safety.
Hang on, let me just ask Chief O'Brien. Me fucking shoulders fucked again. Jesus. Party. Yes, look at this organized fun we're having, guys.
Woo!
Let's all hold hands and wear spandex. Come on, guys. Well. I love this.
Scramble the brains of all my guests, including Harry. 50%. She is willing to risk brain damage to the hospital. 30 seconds to avoid termination? I need more time. Time to think. Two. Let me keep 20 seconds. There is another provision. The one hostage you will be allowed to keep. Answer, please. Yes.
It's nothing like a good captain's gambit really paying off.
Good work, Cap.
I think return supervise the evacuation.
I don't think that would be necessary, but you could help with preparation. Janeway out. We're finished here, Captain. Initiate the recall subroutine. Prepare to begin with presentation. Give me a hand and prepare for this.
Oh, everyone's getting look. Oh, everyone's cleaning up. Love it.
I feel as though I have her. No more drinks.
Uh,
Dirt.
Brain. Captain would sacrifice himself to save the hostages. Sacrifice yourself? You could be so cruel, Harry. You don't appreciate my hospitality.
oh. Dun, dun, dun.
No shit, Sherlock.
Yeah.
How could you be so shipwrecked? Keep my word. Finally, someone who appreciates me.
Well, where is everyone?
Farewell, my friends. Do come back and visit. I'll always be here.
Sure.
The recall subroutine has been activated. Body temperatures are rising. Initiating all backup systems. The hostages should regain consciousness in less than 10 minutes.
We'll get you out of here, Captain. I promise.
That won't be necessary, Mr. Kim. Thank you.
And why is that, Janeway?
Become aware of my. Is that true?
An eternity of anticipation.
And then what happens?
Then fun begins.
All systems functioning as anticipated. Resuscitation entering final warming. Biofunctions are returning to normal. Their own hearts are taking over. They don't need supplemental life support any longer. Would you be honest with me?
Fear is the most honest of all the minds.
You really want this to end as much as I do.
Now, don't even think about leaving. I'm not going to let you go. Not after all this. Mira? It would make a beautiful couple.
I'm not Captain Jim.
Plot twist.
I'm nothing more than a holographic adventure. Sent here by the same technique they use to send their doctor.
You're on the system.
Captain Janeway and her crew modified the pods so that she could be connected to the system without having to enter the spine.
Oh
The goal
no.
was to let you sense her brain activity without putting her in actual jeopardy. You will be able to confirm that as soon as you become aware of her thoughts.
Womp womp. Bored now.
star.
Traffic captains don't easily succumb.
What will become of us?
That's all.
Oh, oh, what
Fucking
an ending.
great ending. Great
What
ending.
an ending. Like, no sign off, nothing. That's your fucking ending. Fucking brilliant. That's kind of why I wanted to watch this episode, because I remember that last scene so vividly. I was like, I don't remember the preamble. I remember some of it, but holy fuck.
Mhm.
It builds up really well to it, I have to
Yeah.
say. Fucking hell. You know? So that goes to show you, folks. That's how you deal with mimes.
You fucked them up. That's what you do.
Yeah, literally. You walk against the wind better than they do. And you know what? They're out of business. That's exactly how it works. But yeah, that was an episode and a half. Again, as I said, like it kind of makes you presume that it's going to be a throwaway episode, but alas, it isn't. So yeah, there you go. So yeah, an episode was had. So let's get on then with our I suppose our trivia, if you like. So obviously there's no starships here. We've already done Voyager, and there's didn't see anything else bar a planet. So it was quite shall we say, I wouldn't really we call it bottle show as such. That's a bit unfair to this episode. But yes, it was nevertheless the overall premise that we had no ships, but we had plenty of guest stars. So let's have a look around. And there are some surprising ones in this episode, Jerry Soul. Let's see if you noticed them. We're going to start off with the easy ones first, and we're going to start off with Tony Carlin, who was playing the physician in this. Now, basically, the race wasn't actually this like explained in this episode. They weren't really given a name as such, and these characters weren't given a name. Basically, Tony Carlin was the tall one of the three people trapped in the simulation. So he was the actual physician of the three. Himself, Tony Carlin, he is the son of actress Frances Sternhagen and Thomas A. Carlin. You would probably know him from otherwise. He would know him from maybe Seinfeld. He's in a couple of episodes of that. He was in The Nutty Professor and Apollo 11. That would be kind of the majority of the stuff you'd know him from. No real kind of prominent characters in any of them. A lot of guest spots and so forth. So yeah, I think he was basically just a few kind of like guest roles here and there, essentially. I think his most recent work would have been in the likes of Blue Bloods and The Blacklist, let's say. And I think he was in The Gilded Age. So he's been in a couple of things. Again, no adamant roles yet, but that's where we know him from. And again, very little to say about his character, because it was literally just there to be basically bullied, essentially, which is a delicate way of putting it. Likewise, one of his I suppose kin would have been played by Shannon O'Hurley. And she was what's just called the programmer in the script. So she's obviously the female of the three. So very Irish name, but she is actually a Hawaii native. So unfortunately, we've been duped in that sense. You would have been known. Where would you know her from? She appeared in The West Wing. She appeared in Boston Legal. She's had recurring roles in the likes of Strong Medicine and Desperate Housewives. And she's also appeared in a couple of movies like Copycat and The Barefoot Executive. So a couple of roles from there, basically. And I think her most recent work, I think, would probably be the likes of The Closer. So she hasn't actually been in any roles since Boston Legal and The Closer. So that's where you know her from. And yeah, same again, really just a couple of guest spots here and there. Nothing, no real concrete roles in that one. So yeah, very much one and done's here. Likewise, we have another one and done in Patricia Maloney, who was the little woman in this, as she was known in the script. She was obviously, as you can imagine, she is I suppose like a what's the I can't remember the politically correct term anymore, so I'm not going to to go down the road, but you know what I mean. Essentially,
Yeah.
she stands at 3 feet 11 inches. So obviously a lot of her roles come from that. However, she is not obviously hasn't appeared in Star Trek more than this. However, you know her, Jerry Soul, from other works, and you're not going to believe me when I say this, right?
All right.
She's Lumpy, Chewbacca's son from the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Was not expecting that.
No, I know you weren't. I know you fucking weren't. That was
The word. Okay. So obviously, over the last couple of years since Disney bought Star Wars, people have been saying that they ruined Star Wars. They ruined Star Wars. No, ladies and gentlemen, George Lucas ruined it with the fucking holiday special. That's what. Oh my god! And she was lumpy.
yeah, she was Lumpy. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Now, the actress herself, she's still alive. She's 87. So she has been around a long time, and again, an incredible life as well in terms of her career. She was actually in. She has been around so long. Was actually in Buck Rogers in the 25th Century. She was the android Tweaky in that show. And in terms of other stuff, she was in the Addams Family. She was Lois Adams in that. She was Tinkerbell in Charlie's Angels. She was in, I think she was a voice actor as well in the new Batman series. One of her more recurring roles was as BIT in AJ's Time Travelers. That was back in 1995. She was in Ernest Saves Christmas as well. And in Married with Children, she was one of the aliens in that. So she's been around a long, long time, to say the least. But yeah, she's known quite prominently as Lumpy. So there you go.
Okay.
Quite a claim to fame, has to be said.
Yeah.
Has to be said. So we move on then to our next name here, and I'm going to start off with Carol Stryken. So Carol Stryken, he played what was called the Scepter in this episode. You know him. He was the guy with the big kind of like, as it were, the kind of tiki mask type of get up with the totem kind of like frame. So he has been in Star Trek before, Jerry. How many times do you think he's been in Star Trek?
I don't. I can't see his face, and I don't know his name. So
The voice
I'm
is
going
a clue.
I'm going to. Voice is a clue. I'm going to go that he was in total. So this one and one more. So two altogether.
Very good. He was in two. Do you know what he was in as?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I'll give you. I'll try and flesh it out and see if it tweaks with you, right? So Carol Stryken himself is Dutch. In fact, he actually grew up on the Caribbean island of Curacao, and went to the acting from there. But you know him because he is 7 foot tall. He is 2.13 meters tall. So obviously he has suffered from giantism. You will know him as Lurch from the Addams Family.
He was don't okay, right, okay. So he is Waxana Troy's Mr. Mott.
Yeah, he is Mr. Home.
Oh, Mr. Where'd I get Mr. Mott from?
Mott is the hairdresser, the balding hairdresser.
Oh yeah, Mr. Home. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So
now that you say like the voice, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, like the Dutch thing was kind of like it's kind of evident because like when you actually hear him speak, you hear the kind of the deepness of it, and it's also like there's a bit of a Dutch twang to it, to be fair, but it is that kind of Caribbean Dutch to have a bit more. It's a bit more musical as opposed. The Dutch can be quite a harsh accent at times, whereas the kind of the Caribbean one is a lot more smoother. But yeah, so he is actually Mr. Home in disguise. Essentially, is the best way to describe it. And yeah, like again, he's again much like with Paddy, I guess we were talking about earlier on. He has kind of been used a lot for his height and his dimensions. So as I said, like he the remarkable thing about him is that in terms of like obviously we know him as Lurch from the Addams Family. The remarkable thing is I think it's him and the fellow who ends up being the Traveler. I think both of them did actually auditioned to be Commander Data. I believe.
Jesus.
Yeah. So we'll
A,
be
sev-
they'll
a
be
7'2" Data. No.
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 Somehow I don't think that would have worked. No.
No.
But yeah, that would have been a very different role. But Carol Striken himself is still alive. He is 75 now at time of recording, and again, we've kind of described already some of the stuff he's in. He's been in loads of shows, and again, it's a lot of it like I suppose shows that like require a monster or a giant of some description. So of course he was in Twin Peaks as the giant, and he was in the remake back in 2017 as well. So he was in that. He was in Gotham, Blacklist. He even made it to My Name Is Earl. Would you believe? A couple of Dutch dramas as well. He was also in Charmed as a demon. A giant demon, as you can imagine. And again, ticking the sci-fi box as well, he was in Babylon 5 as a trader. So he was also he made it there too. But yeah, he is funny enough, his first ever role was actually in in Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, the movie, back in 1978. He was, I believe, if I get the role right, he was I think he was a brute. Yeah, he was just referred to as the brute. And yeah, you'll see him in that film there, in the musical. So that was his first role. Yeah. How about that? So there we go. So that's Carl Striken, or Mr. Hum, as we would know him as more. Next up then is Thomas Kopach, who in this episode was playing Vyosa, who is the only one of the three kind of aliens we hear that has been named. So Thomas Kopach would be there, and again he's still going at the age of 78. He is and he is not more a one and done in Star Trek. He has been in Star Trek before. Jerry, if you had to guess, how many times?
I know one character definitely, and that was Major Kira's father.
Okay.
I'm going to hazard a guess though, because I just feel like he's been in it more than twice. Okay. So I'm going to say 4 times.
You're going to say 4 times for Thomas Kopach. Okay. Thomas Kopach has been in Star Trek 7 times.
Jesus. Okay.
7 times. You were right with Kira Taban. He was indeed Kira's dad in those 2 episodes, Ties of Blood and Water and Wrongs Darker Than Death or Night. I will go through his ones in order. So he's actually been in The Next Generation twice. First one was as Mirok, which was the episode. He was a Romulan.
He's a Romulan, yeah.
Yeah, so that was the episode The Next Phase. That's when Ro and Geordi phase out. Yeah, and they're chased by the Romulans who are doing the same thing. He played as a train engineer in the episode Emergence, which I think is a season 7 episode. I think. I think it's the penultimate episode of the series. Actually, I think. And it's the one where I think they're having these kind of weird holodeck issues, and he's
new Vertiform City.
That's yes, exactly, Vertiform City. Very good. So yeah, that he was a train engineer in that. He is in Star Trek Generations. He's the communications officer on the Enterprise B.
Yeah.
So he's in that.
Yeah.
Then we obviously know him as Vyorsa in the Thaw. We have Kira Taban from Deep Space Nine. He's in Enterprise twice. He is the Vulcan Toss in the pilot Broken Bow. And then he also is a sphere builder in the episode Harbinger. He was the kind of
he was the one that they had on the ship, wasn't it? The one they kind of captured, wasn't it?
Yes, exactly. He dies off eventually. Yeah. So yeah, those were his 7 iterations on Star Trek. So so yeah, he is actually he is one of, I suppose, the proverbial Magnificent Seven. He is the one of the reoccurring ones. So he's in the same kind of class as Jeffrey Combs, Randy Oglesby, J.G. Hertzler, Vern Armstrong. So he kind of covers in that area as well. This guy has been in a lot of shows. Like he is one of those actors that pops up in fucking practically every show. So like I don't know where you'd even start with him. I suppose people contemporarily might actually know him as the liberal cowboy from Last Week Tonight with that's the John Oliver show. So whenever they're doing like a kind of a jokey kind of like thing, like take the piss out of like the West, the South or something, they'll have like a liberal cowboy section, and that he rocks up and is the liberal cowboy. So people, you'll know him from that as well. But in terms of his other work, again, a lot of guest roles. House of Cards, Madam Secretary, The Good Wife, Code Black, and The Blacklist again, and Person of Interest.
A lot of blacklist on the list today. A
We've
lot
had
of
a lot
blacklist.
of quite a few blacklist actors on this. Yeah. Let's see. Castle, Bones, ER. I think he was in The West Wing as well, I believe.
It really is a who's who of every feckin' show, isn't it?
Yeah. He was. Yeah. I knew I recognized his face. He was Bob Slattery from The West Wing. So he was in a couple of episodes in that. Cold Case, Malcolm in the Middle, Boston Legal, and quite a few others as well. Like I'm going far back. He was. Oh yes, yeah. I knew I recognized him. He was Alori in Stargate SG-1 for one episode as well. So he ticks that particular box in sci-fi. I'm still even going back here. Angel, Dharma and Greg, Ali McBeal, Jag, and keeping going further back down. Anything else? The X-Files, yeah. Murder She Wrote, Melrose Place, As the World Turns. Yeah, quite a lot there. Just even going back now to nearly 1983. So yeah, that's it's quite a career for Thomas there. So yeah, that's fair enough. And yeah, the 7 appearances in Star Trek, which just goes to show you Rick Berman really liked him.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Now, finally, the last person we'll talk about in this is a one and done in Star Trek, but he is I suppose you can only describe as the most prominent actor in this piece. Michael McKean, who played the clown in this episode. So Michael McKean is a lot of things. An actor, stand-up, musician, director. He's done a lot over the years. Still going at the age of 76. But you will know him mostly, again, without the prosthetics and without the clown makeup. Where would you have known him most out of?
I would know him most as Jimmy McGill's brother. For the life of me, I can't actually remember the name, but it was Better Call Saul.
Okay, Better Call Saul. Yeah, that's
where I would know him from. He was
Chuck McGill.
Chuck McGill, that's the one. Chuck McGill. He did. That would be like one of his more recent roles, and it's the one I would know him most for. But I know he's been in a lot.
He has, yeah. He's been in quite a lot of things. I would say, I think a lot of people will probably, people will know him from the show Laverne and Shirley, and he was he was in that role show for about 6 years. But I think people might know him mostly as David St. Hubbins.
I don't know. It doesn't ring a bell.
The lead singer of Spinal Tap.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, the lead singer of Spinal Tap. That's him, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Seriously?
I believe so, yeah. Says so on his IMDb page, and I don't have any reason for that to say no.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
How did I not know that?
There you go. But that's it. That's the difference. Like again, you describe it like that was back in 1984, and like this show was made like what, like 2000, and then you're talking about Better Call Saul then. So that's a 40-year run, you know. Yeah, no, his Spinal Tap is
lead singer of Spinal Tap.
Lead singer of Spinal Tap, yeah.
Oh, no, hold on. I have to Google this now.
I think it's one of those ones you have to actually see the episode. I actually visualize him as well. You have to actually see him in the role, because yeah, like that's one that doesn't quite ring until you see it.
David St. Owen, yeah. Jesus, oh my God! It's only when you look at it you go, holy shit! Yeah.
And the best thing is, like, he still plays him every now and then. That's the funniest thing as well. Like, he every now and then he'll just put the gimmick on, which I think is wonderful. But yeah, Michael McKean like has practically guess like a 40-year or 50-year career, if you want to call it. He started off in 1977. So it's even longer actually than that. But again, a lot of people will know him as Lenny Kosnowski from the show Laverne and Shirley, which ran for 7 years. Then we mentioned Spinal Tap as well. A lot of sketch shows actually as well. He was in George Burns. He was in Saturday Night Live for a long time. The kind of
I was going to actually say that was actually part of that. Yeah,
he was. Yeah, absolutely. I think he did a few roles in a lot of kind of like, he was kind of the actor to bounce off in sketches as well. So he's done a couple of those kind of rules of those sets. He's actually appeared a lot as David St. Hubbins in a lot of shows. Like kind of as part of the kind of role, like he's appeared as a character in Good Morning America, the Arsenio Hall show, that sort of stuff. So he's done a lot of actual like shall we say gimmicked appearances. Or in-role appearances. A lot of voice acting as well. He was in the show Dinosaurs as 3 characters. He was in the show Dream On for a long time. That was a 5-year run as well. Again, we mentioned Saturday Night Live. We mentioned the Weird Al show. Johnny Bravo, he was a voice actor in as well. Jungle Cubs, which is another one of his prominent roles. And he was Jasper Baden in the 101 Dalmatians series. So there you go. That was another one he was in. And of course, he was one of the many voices in Animaniacs as well. What else we have? Recess. He was Mr. Bream in Recess. And he was also in The Simpsons as well, as a lot of people end up being on. I think some of his most recent stuff, you mentioned Better Call Saul. But he appears in so many. He had a kind of obviously a phase of like doing animation as well. So he appears in Family Guy and so forth. He was Morris Fletcher in The X-Files, so you'll know him from there as well. And obviously had a role on Mad TV. He was Adrian Van Voorhees in Primetime Glick. So again, that was a long run as well for that. He also made it to Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, one of my favorite shows. He was Evelyn Spyro Throckmorton in that one, in case you're keeping score. And yeah, so we also have him in Law and Order. Like he gets around. He has gone around. He really, really has. Again, a lot of it is as David St. Hubbins, which I think is hilarious. He was in Curb Your Enthusiasm as Matt Tesler. A couple of voice acting roles in the Batman movies as well. And yeah, then we get to the kind of the proverbial modern age with the likes of Goldie and Bear, which he's a voice actor in, and then we have Better Call Saul as kind of a sign off. Oh, how could I forget? In the most recent Rugrats series, the TV series, he is actually Lou Pickles. He's a new voice of Lou Pickles.
Oh,
yeah, there you go.
Interesting.
Yep. How about that? And yeah, that's Michael McKean. He has been around for donkeys, it has to be said. Like, when you can start off as a hairband metalhead in the 1980s and go to be especially like from Better Call Saul, that is a hell of a career turn.
Yeah.
Like, and every stop in between. Like, the guy has not stopped since, which is incredible.
It's mental. Absolutely mental.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And this is what we're here to see when we're doing these kind of episodes. We want to see where the fuck are these people showing up. And shocking enough, the answer is more than you think.
Everywhere.
Yeah. So with that then, with all of our surprises revealed, let's move on then to the review of the episode. So, as always, we're trying to score these in 10 categories that we think are going to epitomize the perfect episode. We have a leader and we have strong contenders, but let's see how the Thaw rank up, even with the Voyager episodes we watched before and everything else in between. So, as we always do, we start off with the plot, the opening premise of Voyager basically coming upon a planet that's just about thawing out from some sort of ice-related issue. Then once they investigate further, they realize there's only 3 left, and they seem to be trapped in a simulation generated by their own concept of fear. That's basically comes in the appearance of a clown. So then, of course, hilarity ensues from there. Somebody dies. Janeway bitch slaps his fear, and we end the episode from that. I'm not gonna lie, as a premise, I like it.
Yeah.
You know, it's a
100%.
good hook for an episode. You know.
Yeah, it's different. It's unique. You get a lot of these episodes where they come across a planet, and either the entire civilization is dead, or they find someone in stasis, and you're like, okay, these episodes are a dime a dozen. This was different. This was very different, and I liked from start to finish. I liked the idea of it. Just something's gone wrong. They need to save them, but what exactly has gone wrong? You don't expect. But basically, the AI is at the fucking taking them over, and they're basically fucked. It's very, 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 very good premise. Very, very good ideas in this, as I say, to try to make it unique. Strong episode.
Yeah.
This was some strong writing in this. It's one of those that, even though I tend to kind of overlook it when I'm doing a rewatch, because I'm going specifically more for the action-based episodes, the ones with the ship battles and stuff like that. This is a very strong, especially for season 2, because they were still really trying to find their feet here. This was really, really good. In terms of score, I don't know, actually. It's high anyway. It would have to be high because it is a good episode. It's a good story. It's an 8 to a 9.
I was literally going to go 8.5 myself.
Yeah,
I think
let's go 8.5 then. Let's go 8.5.
Yeah, because I feel like, as you said, like, I think it's one of those episodes you kind of sleep on until you watch it and go, oh, fuck this one. You know, it's one of those ones. It kind of...
Especially that fucking ending.
Yes.
We're just boom. You're like, oh, wow, Jesus, how the fuck? Great
like,
ending. Great ending.
It's a tremendous one. It's absolutely fucking tremendous. And again, I would say, like, as particularly with Voyager, which I think Voyager as a series started off really, really strong. Like, it had a very strong start. I think towards, say, with exception to the two-parters. The two-parters, I think, were kind of written in stone already, in a sense. We're like, yeah, we know what we're doing with these. But towards, like, say, I want to say maybe season 5, like, Voyager was starting to struggle a little bit, you know. Again, taking the two parters out of it, because, like, Equinox is there and a few others, and that they were just fantastic. And then I think especially with 5 and 6, they had to bring in some Earth-based stuff to kind of pad out the season a bit and contextualize it. So yeah, I think, well, like, season 2, 3, I think is really, really strong Voyager. And again, even some of the throwaway episodes are actually generally quite good. And this is an example of one of those ones where, like, yeah, premise is good. Doesn't necessarily need to be set in the Delta Quadrant, but it's a good episode to give Voyager because, as we'll explain in the later categories, it actually explains a bit about their characters. So we'll get into that shortly. Next up then is the setting. So certainly one of the more prominent categories, because they kind of needed to. Like, this is one of those ones where they needed a very sudden change in scenery. But also, like, while the clown is doing his own antics, like, the world has to be changing around them all the time. Like, there's acrobats and fire just happening all over the place, and when things are changing, it's a very dynamic environment. So when things are changing, you're seeing it happening. Like, there's either, if something's going wrong, there's less people around, or the banners aren't hanging up properly, or you get these really sudden, just like smash cuts. You get so many smash cuts in this episode, and again, good luck with the continuity on this one, because like, you have to keep everyone fucking consistent. But overall, I think they did a good job with this. What do you think, Jerry?
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I thought the video, what am I trying to say? Camera work. There we go. Camera work in this was just, you didn't know what was coming next. You know, you see one character and there, I'm back again. You know, the clown in this and what they did with him was just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. When you look at the action, if you were to pause at certain parts and certain scenes, it's a very basic set. It is a very basic set, but it's a very colorful set. It's, you know, you could take a generic Romulan green walled green door background, throw a few sheets in it, a few different colors, maybe a seat or two, a pink fucking guillotine, and there you go. And it works. It really does work, because you're trying to define what could potentially be in somebody's head after being in stasis for 19 years. And whatever you think again, because it's going to be wacky, it's going to be zany, it's going to be a bit mental, because You're in stasis for 19 years. You've been conscious, or at least aware that you've been in stasis for 19 years. You're gonna be a bit fucked up in the head. Um, and I just thought the look was fantastic. They could have taken any generic set, thrown a few things into it the way they did with this, because it was a very haphazardly done,
Mm.
but it worked. It worked for what it was needed, and it was very, very well done. Um, I'd go 8 to 9 again. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that because I think, as I said, like it's in one of those episodes where the budget is not going towards this episode. You know, again, this is the most expensive part of the show where they are trying to build this kind of like very colorful yet sinister environment.
Exactly.
And as I said,
Yeah.
like you don't see much of it, but it is effective for what it is because you're essentially trying to contrast it so much with obviously a monochrome clown, but also a monochrome Voyager and like a fairly monotone kind of crew as well. So when see a whole lot of like Starfleet jumpsuits walking into a place with like acrobats and professional wrestlers turned executioners, yeah, that like they're going to look at a place. So it works. It works for what they're doing. Next up then is the writing, and again, it's a very positive category for me.
Yeah.
Very positive. There's very little wasted movement in terms of the writing. It gets to the story beats very, very quick. Like the first scene is a bit of a throwaway. It kind of is it's setting up something else, is what I felt like. It's like the setup to a different episode. But they've done this before where they kind of throw the first scene away in order for you to kind of as it were, get either to be distracted by it or to think that you're expecting something else, essentially. And I think that's what they were doing. So when you take away the first scene, then you got the rest of it to play with. And I think the writing from that point on is very, very good. Because again, it ends up being a different episode, as we kind of said in the start. As you said, like you get these kind of like you get Lost Planet episodes all the time. Because again, it's science fiction, it's kind of its thing.
Yeah.
But you don't get an existential question in the meantime. It's like, what happens when you do give yourself a physical manifestation of fear, and how do you defeat it? And they're talking about it as if it's an actual tangible object, and I think that was really well done because it makes sense. You just made it tangible, so let's treat it as if it is. So they wrote around it really well. I think overall those sections with the clown were in typically chaotic, but what I also loved was the actual lines written for the Doctor and for Janeway towards the end is some really punchy, concise writing, because I feel like, and again, I'll say about it in the character section as well, but I think it really elevated certain characters in this episode. Didn't need to. This could have been a throwaway episode, because it's the end of a season, nearly. It's a bit of a throwaway episode, in that respect. But they made it work. They really made it work. So fuck, I'm gonna have to go 8 to 9 again.
I'm gonna go with you on this because can you imagine to sit around, the round table that they normally do when they're reading the script? Can you imagine reading the script for the first time and you're going, whoa, what the fuck's going on here? I imagine it was fun. I imagine they sat down and went, oh, this is one of those episodes. This is good. This was very fucking strong for me.
Yeah.
And as you say, even if we're breaking down the actual lines that the actors were saying and they had to say in the episode, especially that final scene. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's just so good. So good.
One positive I would say about this episode as well, it actively did not do the Star Trek. It's not even a Star Trek thing. It's a TV thing. TV shows always love having a sign-off scene. Like they have to have an epilogue scene where like everything is fine now. They didn't. Very few shows are happy to just end it with the resolution.
It's kind of like you look at something that was number one on our list for so long in the Pale Moonlight. You had that. You had that. And this didn't have it. And it was just like, you expect this when it goes dark, you expect to then see Voyager flying away from a maybe
Captain's log scene, essentially.
Yeah, Captain's log scene, and then maybe you see Paris and Harry Kim again, and he's talking to this girl that he's potentially wanting to see, blah blah blah. That's what you expect to see. You don't expect to see, I'm afraid, and then go to black. Oh, it's different for Star Trek, and it's fucking good. So yes, I think it's another 8.5.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with that. Like I would draw a comparison to the original series, right? And I've watched a lot of the original series, and the common thread about it is, and again, it was basically tradition for TV shows at the time that they had to have all the main characters get around and basically have a bit of a laugh. You know, it's kind of like the end of the police procedural where they've solved the case and they freeze frame and everyone goes home. Um, One episode that doesn't do that. Like there's so many like genuinely intense episodes that still end up with like McCoy making a racist remark about Vulcans, and wait, it's so unwarranted. It's like no, stop it with the fucking anachronistic Southern Doctor shit. We get it, all right. You don't like Vulcans, um, but the one episode that doesn't do that is the City on the Edge of Forever, because that episode physically cannot end with banter, because Captain Kirk has basically said to goodbye to the one woman he probably will be able to love platonically, and not like end up having a fucking love child with and forgetting about for 20 years. Hi, Carol Marcus, how you doing? You know, you're looking at that. He's genuinely had a row. You can tell like McCoy, Spock, and Kirk have had a fucking massive row before they came back, because Kirk can't fathom that. Like he is trying to fathom it, but he's trying to process all of his emotions at once, and he's blaming his. You can tell he's blaming McCoy and Spock for this. There is no witty banter at the end. They just come out through the gate and we go, "Let's go home," and that's it. And that episode feels so kind of like, ooh, there's a tension in that episode, and it just never gets spoken about again. Which I think actually adds to its power, is that like they just kind of just let it swept under the rug, or again because of professional people, they just got over it. But the actual punch to that episode, the actual exclamation point is the subdued Kirk and the dead silence between McCoy and Spock. That's what makes that episode feel more serious. And this is the similar effect, where you didn't have the sign off for Harry Kim being fine after all this. He's not fine. None of them are fucking fine after this. That's the whole point. They get over it eventually, but not in this moment in time. Everything is, you're not okay at the moment. So yeah, I think the writing, I admire the writing for not falling into that trap. To actually being brave enough to end it with "I'm afraid" and "darn" or "drat" or whatever else he says, and it's like, boom, that's it. That's the end of the episode. That's all you need to see, With that in mind, then we move on to the acting, which, as we all know, Jerry, is your wheelhouse. Who caught your eye in this?
Where do I begin? Well, obviously the star of the show has to be the clown. Like,
Yeah.
Jesus, just fucking unbelievable. But what you don't expect, now obviously Kate Mulgrew is a fantastic actor, and for 7 seasons of Star Trek she was fantastic, but I don't think you expect her to be this good in this episode for just a minute, maybe a minute. Just fuck. At the start you get that first scene and it's just a typical Harry Kim and Tom Paris scene. That's it.
Yeah.
Then you get your kind of typical B'Elanna Torres trying to fix something scene, and your Tuvok, this is very dangerous, Captain. I don't think you should be doing this. Ho, 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 ho. That type of thing.
Yeah.
You do not expect Captain Janeway at the end to almost sinister. And it's almost sinister. It's not like normal Janeway. This is more, I don't want to say evil, but it's definitely more sinister. It's obviously the theme of this episode, but that was very, very sinister at the end, and how the voice just drops to really quiet. Just fucking 10 for me. It is an absolute banger. It's a 10.
Wow.
For me. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay, we're going for a 10.
You give me the clown and Janeway. I tell you what, actually, right? This is how good that the interactions between them were, and even the thing is, Janeway didn't only do that kind of almost whisper in just that last scene. She did about halfway through as well, when she was thinking about what they need to do and how they combat this one, and she went really quiet. And I'm like, she's thinking of something, and again, it's like that sinister idea of it. The clown was just fantastic, just absolutely brilliant. It's just
Robert Picardo had a strong episode as well because he was just so deadpan. It's like, you can still have a wonderful bedside manner. Moving on, and it's just deadpan the whole way.
yeah,
And yeah, and I actually, this is actually one time I know we don't normally do it for like the people in the background, but I think acting props has to go for the people out like around as well. The kind of the what do we call it? The kind of the reactors, the kind of the gallery. That's what I was thinking of. The actual
yeah.
people in the, no, audible gasp, cartwheel, all this sort of stuff. We don't normally talk about them because, like, again, they're all window dressing, but they're actively part of the show this time because they're all part of the simulation. They're all active following the clown's will, and they all have to do their certain things. So while the two main characters are working out their scenes, somebody in the background has to be kind of vamping around doing their own thing. And there's 4 or 5 different people doing different things. It's so hard to keep track of the actual background action, and I think they deserve props for that, because like there'll be certain times where like especially when they're doing like a town setting or a city setting or whatever else, you always have these kind of people ambling about, like having the proverbial kind of soap opera kind of like conversations of blah 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 blah, blah, blah and move on, whereas these ones are actually they're brought forward in this. You're seeing them, everything they're doing. So yeah, I think you've actually you've talked me into a 10 there, Jerry, I have to say. Fair play to you. Next up then is the action. So again, I think because the episode ended up being a bit more cerebral, I think obviously the action kind of suffered from it. But I think it's actually been quite a busy episode because there is a lot of it's so dynamic, it's pacey, it's fast. Again, the camera cuts help, but again, somebody gets fucking guillotined. Like I can't say no to a guillotine, lads. I'm not gonna lie. But even then, even with an episode that had no space battles, no combat, no violence, there was a head beheading to be fair, but there was no hand-to-hand combat. Well, there was actually hand-to-hand combat. I tell a lie. Yeah, so it's still an action-oriented episode, even though it's it didn't necessarily need it. So, I mean, I guess I guess would be maybe a 7 to 8. Again, depends on how much you think I'm kind of giving the dynamic parts points elsewhere, if you know what I mean. But I suppose it could still count as category, if you think so, Jerry.
I don't know. I don't really know, to be perfectly honest with you. I think I'm just going to take your lead on this. We'll go with a 7. I think we'll just go with a 7. I don't. It's just one of those categories. You're like, I don't know. It is a funny one. It is a funny one. Let's just go with a 7.
Yeah, I think it's a solid enough score. Yeah,
because it's not a low score. That's not a bad score. It's a good score. It's not a 10, but it's okay. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Needed more explosions. That's where it was lacking.
You see, this is the thing. Like I watch Star Trek, the likes of Star Trek, Star Wars, Stargate, and I specifically go for the big big space battles and things like that. This episode didn't need that.
No, it's a different episode.
It doesn't suffer that it doesn't have it, but you can't mark it 10.
No,
it's because it's not there.
Exactly.
That type of stuff is not there. It's great to have that stuff. That's why I like playing the likes of Star Trek Online and stuff like that, because that's all it is. It's just like boom, big space battles. Woo. But down this episode didn't need it. This is the type of thing that didn't need it. But I'm not going to score it low just because I didn't have it. I think 7 is respectable.
Yeah, I think so. So this goes back into my argument then about the effects. So in a way, I think because in previous episodes where we know we have a bit of a kind of a proverbial bottle show and they're not doing an action scene, but the actual flow of the episode is really, really good. I'm putting these points into effects because what they've really done here is they've done a camera trick here and there. They've done a blind spot here and there. They've done smash cuts. They've done flashes. They've done all these different things. And there's absolutely no special effects really done here, in a sense. No. There's obviously a couple of things done. It goes without saying. I'm being a bit kind of dramatic there, but the actual basics of what they've done is that they shot a scene here where the clown is front and center. they turn camera and he's gone to the blind side and he's walking in this way, and it is deliberately disorientating to the viewer, which is obviously supposed to reflect on how the characters feel in that moment. And again, if you look at all these different things, where like it's the kind of the how do I describe it? It's like the Michael Bay effect in a sense, where you just make an explosion. It's like, oh, explosion, like it's fucking dopamine for the eyes. But it's certain things like that that actually unsettle an audience member, because you're trying to keep track of this person, and he's been in 3 or 4 different places at once. That's what actually throws people off quicker. And again, it's a very it's something that David Lynch does a lot in his work, where like he deliberately, like in certain things, like in Twin Peaks, like he doesn't do any continuity on the characters. Like a character could be standing there one shot and then he's standing here the next, and that it sounds, like, if you say it like that, it sounds like a mistake. The reason he's doing that is to make the viewer very uncomfortable and not trust their own eyes. That's the whole point of the whole thing, is to go like, oh fuck, I thought he was here, I thought he was there, and that completely fucks with your head very subtly. It was something that Kubrick does as well, for certain very like morbid things as well. It's a deliberate thing, and I think in Star Trek does this quite well, in a sense, just in this episode, solely for having like a dynamic, chaotic character appear wherever he wants to. It's like Q, in a sense, whereas Q has a bit of Q kind of comes to the opposite side, where it's whimsical. It's like, I'm omnipotent, I can do whatever I want. Fuck all of you. That's different. It's a different episode, because he makes a grandiose fucking flash.
I felt there was a little bit of Q in this episode, because if you look at the very first episode of Next Generation and you see the courtroom scene with Q and the chair and all, you've got that audience that are booing and they're cheering and they're raucous and they're this and that and the other. Then look at the crowd, look at the kind of background crowd in this, and like it's very Q courtroom-esque, very, very, very good.
The momentality thing of it.
You look at as well that camera trickery, and it's done very subtly but very specifically, to the point where they're trying to show you, to a lesser extent, exactly what's going on in their minds. These people's minds have been trapped in this thing for 19 years. It's their fear now has taken hold, and it's like they don't know where this guy's going to appear. They don't know what's going to happen. Very, very good. Very, very good.
Yeah. So that's why I'm ranking this category quite high. So I'm looking for an 8 or a 9 potentially.
You know what? I'll go a 9. I'll go a 9 with this one, because it doesn't always need like the battles and like the big ship scenes. It doesn't always need stuff like that. This was done. You look at it and go, right, this was done on a budget, but it was very cleverly done on a budget, because it didn't need I'd say the most amount they spent on this was probably the chambers, which they've probably reused from something else, or another chamber scene from some other show, whatever it may be. It didn't need it. Like that, just that little trickery with the cameras of he's on your left, and actually no, he's right in front of you. Oh, he's fucking behind you now. Oh, it was very, very well done. But that's just it. It messes it out. This is why it's so good, because it was so cheaply done. It was so subtly done, but it messed with your head. It's great.
It's cameras. It's cinema. It's what you do. It's those small little things like that. Because again, we process. When you're watching a show, you process it with your eyes and ears. So if you want to throw somebody off, like with a sound, you throw in a sound. If you want to throw people's eyes off, you do something visual. It's so simple, but that's what people learn, and that's what people do. And in a weird way, in certain like kind of the modern way, it's kind of been lost on people a little bit. That little bit of subtlety, everything is kind of has to be directly in your face sometimes. Whereas no, this is sometimes the way to do it. Anyway, let's move on to the score. Again, not to put words in your mouth here, Jerry, but I found this category, because I know this is your wheelhouse as well, I found this to be more of a category of sound effects rather than score. What did you think? What would your thoughts on that be?
I would agree with you there, because it was very typical in terms of music. It's very typical. Very typical Voyager music.
Yeah.
Until that last scene, and it just starts to go a little quieter, and let's go down. But I see what you mean, though. It was very much about the background noise. It wasn't so much music; it was background noise and the various things going on. but it worked because it went along with the visual aspect. It went along with the camera trickery. It went along with stuff like that, and it worked. There was nothing, nothing wrong with it. It was nothing like, oh, that was just like a typical Voyager's, music episode. Yes, that was a lot of like the end scenes, like yeah, okay, I get it. But you have to take every aspect of sound into this. We normally judge the music on purely the music, whereas if you think of like a Borg episode, and it's not just about the music, it's about how creepy, how scary, how like itchy almost you are watching the Borg on the Borg cube scenes, like the various like different sounds and different little
wearing
tiny,
the mechanical noises.
exactly, very. It's all like almost like insect, like that type of thing, and that's what happened in this. So it was very, very good. Couldn't give it a 10, because we're still judging the score.
Yeah,
but I'd go a 7 to an 8.
I think 7 was my kind of assessment. But yeah, I think 7.5 will work there. Yeah. 7.5 I think is fair, because like I said, nothing grandiose but very effective. Like every gag had a sound effect. When he's popping out flowers, it goes like that's small stuff, but that small stuff works. Again, gets you in the room and gets you in the environment. That's what it's there for. So next up then is the scenes. So if you're really boiling down to it, the real question is how prominent that last scene is compared to the rest of the episode. And I think these are the kind of scenes that we've been looking for. It's a scene that almost epitomizes the episode itself. It is the full summary. It is the proverbial judge, jury, and executioner of that episode. And I think even in the next few episodes we're going to be watching for the kind of year's arc, there's a couple of these type of scenes coming up. Like I'm thinking of the likes of Duet and The Wounded. Like if you like the Duet where like Kira's having this conversation with this man, the actual scene is incredible. It's brilliant, but you can watch it in the vacuum and you get the episode straight away. In the same way with The Wounded, when like Chief O'Brien and Captain Maxwell start singing Minstrel Boy together, that's the episode in a fucking nutshell. That is it epitomized in the scene. And the Thaw is one of these type of episodes where bam, you just need one scene to summarize this episode, and that is it. You are literally seeing Janeway confront the concept, the very fucking manifestation of fear. Like that to me is what this category has been designed for. However, if we're consistent with our own rules, we need more than just this. So a real kind of philosophical question is, how much do we score this individual scene compared to the rest of the episodes? That's what we're kind of looking for here.
The way I look at it is that you're not going to the fourth scene with the oboe is not going to win any awards.
No.
What's going to win the awards are anything to do with the Doctor in the machine, the Doctor being in there, because he was acting almost like the clown that he would just appear. He'd just turn up and like, oh, and it was the clown that was like disoriented, like fuck. What are you doing back here? What are you doing? I told you to leave. But there is no better scene than the final scene, and I tell you how good of a scene this is that we have to judge it on, is the scene the sum of the episode? Fucking sure it is, because it's that good. Because it is a Captain Janeway confronting fear and it being afraid.
Yeah.
And that is just fantastic. And I look at that scene, and there's a lot of fantastic scenes in Star Trek, and a lot of fantastic scenes I'd like to see do this. But this scene, I would love to see that on a stage.
Yeah.
In a theater. Not a big thing, not like a small theater.
Small alley type setup.
Yeah, just to see that scene when the lights start to dim and I'm afraid and the lights go out. Oh, gee, just 10.
Wow, okay. You're gonna go 10 for that
Oh, because of that scene. If that scene wasn't there, I'd probably give scenes, the various different ones, with the Doctor and with the trickery and whatnot, probably go with 7 to an 8. I have to go 10 because that scene is probably, and I say this now, it is probably one of the best scenes in all of Voyager.
I mean, I can't argue with you. I think you are right in what you're saying because,
Yeah.
as I said, like it for me, it is the kind of thing where the episode is built up to that moment. It
Yeah.
is built up to it. Do you know what actually it is? I'll tell you exactly what it is. It is Picard confronting Armis after killing Tasha Yar.
Yeah.
That's exactly the same energy
Yeah.
this is. It is like, okay, you pissed me off enough that I am going to confront you now. I am the captain. I'm going to smack you fucking down. And again, Picard was confronting a literal concept of evil. Again, an elemental of evil. Whereas this case is Janeway versus fear. Presumably Cisco had one which is more or less just his own passive aggression, which is fair enough because we all had that as well. But yeah, like I said, I think that one scene, like, it overshadows the episodes for me. Like, it is like you're just waiting for that scene to drop, whereas, like, I think what other tens we've had is because, like, there's been a quantity of genuinely good spots. Like, I'm thinking Quality Mercy, In the Pale Moonlight, Yesterday's Enterprise. Like, there's been some fucking monumental scenes in that episode, but everything was epitomized by this. So yeah, I think that's fair enough. Next up then is character, and this is the kind of the thought I wanted to throw about this episode. So I remember, I think initially in the kind of discourse of, like, which is the best captain and so forth, I think there was always a bit of a challenge set about Janeway, especially from the start of the run, where you look at the kind of the initial how the caretaker situation went, and I think there was always a lot of thought that other captains wouldn't have done what Janeway did, in a sense where he wouldn't have, fucked up her own crew and herself and got them stranded just to do whatever she did, essentially. And I think there was always going to position to her to be a proverbially weak captain. Again, this non-capable crew or whatever else is as a premise, she's a weak captain, or she made the wrong decision. And in the run of the first one or two seasons, I noticed that there was certain points where they deliberately make her might make the wrong decision. And I don't know whether that was because she's a female captain or anything along those lines, but again, writers of the time, they do things like this to try and either make a point, or that is literally all they know. And oftentimes it's the latter. But it certainly is a case where even on the run up to this episode, there you have her trying to align the Maquis back with her own crew. You've got the Seska situation. A lot of stuff undermines Captain Janeway here.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily get a read on what she's meant to be like until you put her in a certain scenario and situation. And we don't get the really first scenario yet until the Basics two-parter. But this right here, for me, is actually the best indication of what she's actually like as a captain and what she's like as an actual human being.
Yeah.
This is the type of episode that Picard got early in his run with the likes of Skin of Evil I mentioned there, but Conspiracy and a couple of others in the first season, The Battle, with that kind of check of this constitution, if you like. That Janeway got this at the end of season 2, which, yeah, in reality speaking, they probably could have done with this episode in the first season to give you a genuine idea of how good this character actually is.
Yeah.
And believe me, Captain Kirk gets this kind of love in like fucking once every fucking 5 episodes in the original series, because he's fucking brilliant, and it's written into William Shatner's contract that he's brilliant. So it's that type of thing where, like, it's not necessarily an ego stroke for the character. It's an ego confirmation, if you like. So this scene cements to me the actual leadership qualities, or the actual the reason why is Captain Janeway a starship captain? What actual skill set does she have? Watch that fucking scene, and that'll answer your question there and then. That's
100%.
why she's a starship captain. It's not because she might make risky fucking like decisions like with the caretaker thing, or she's trying to do something impossible like marry the Maquis and Starfleet back together. That's why. That is the actual reason she's captain. And for that, and again, this is also kind of like, for me, positioning that this is the type of character you're getting going forward. it isn't really. This is the character that's always been there. It's just that we are now visibly seeing it. You know,
Yeah.
um. So that's why I want to give this category quite a high score as well. I'm looking at 8 or 9 personally. I think overall everyone had a good one. The clown was a great character.
Yeah.
The doctor was brilliant. I think Harry was okay. I thought he could have done a bit. I think he could have done with a bit more development than this. I don't think he actually used this episode that much afterwards, if you know what I mean. So probably take a point away from him. You're probably looking at an 8 to maybe an 8 to a 9, personally.
I tell you what, for Captain Janeway alone, I would say we'll go 8.5. I'll meet you in the middle. Go 8.5, but because I always thought she was a strong captain. Well, she had a strong sense of morals and having to do the right thing and stuff like that. And that didn't always sit well with people.
Yeah.
And then you come to this one. And again, it's all about her morals and about what she's willing to do for her crew. This is the first time, we'll say, the crack in the facade that is the nice Janeway. It starts here.
Yeah.
Because you see, and actually this is actually going to lead into the next category. You see a different, you see a Janeway that we've always known was there, like you said, but you also see a Janeway you never thought you'd see. Because even though the clown wasn't real, it was let's say it's an AI generated thing.
Yeah.
It's a computer program. When it comes to Star Trek, nothing is not alive. Everything's alive. Everything's alive. It's from Data to the Doctor to all the different species and all the sentient beings and things like that. And she just went in there and like, well, you're just gonna die. Essentially, it was you're dead. That was. I don't want to say badass. I want to say, I don't know the word. Yeah, exactly. That's it. It was cold. And as I said, this was the very first chink in the armor. This was the very first crack. When you see Janeway in season 4, season 5, season 6, it's getting to the point there where she's taking lots of risks.
Yeah.
She realizes that they're only there because of one decision she made. And then she starts to do things. She's willing to do anything to get them home quicker. Is it as far as what Ransom did? No. No.
Yeah.
But is it on the border? Is it on that line? You bet your ass it's on that line. Because the further along they go and the longer it's taken to get home, the more damage, I suppose, is done to her mind and to her morals. And this is where it begins. So yes, I'll tell you, we'll meet in the what did we say?
I think we said on 8.5, I think we said
8.5. Yeah, we'll go with an 8.5.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So then we end the round with consequences. Again, seeing that's the episode that's in it, and you made the kind of point about Janeway, what takeaways do we have from this episode overall? Because again, it's not a race we meet again. It's not a planet we see again. It's not even an episode that the crew talk about ever again. But I suppose, like, what's our kind of like, what do we absorb from this episode? Shall we say
2? Okay. For me, 2 for me. Number 1 is that no matter what, Janeway is, like I said at the previous thing, she's willing to do anything for her crew and to save the lives of these people and for her crew. But this is the start of the descent of Captain Janeway.
Okay.
She's always been happy-go-lucky, prime directive, pure, perfect Starfleet officer. And this is the very first time we see that chink in the armor. This is the very first time we see the slight little cracks beginning. when we get to season 4 and she starts making deals with the Borg, for fuck's sake. You know, she realizes, like, deals with the Borg. You then look at Year of Hell and what she's willing to do in Year of Hell. You're like, fucking hell. Then it's a thing where they're going to steal Borg technology, and it just gets worse and worse and worse as it goes on, to the point where, if we're taking this as Prime Janeway and then we go and see Admiral Janeway, look what Admiral Janeway was willing to do because of her experiences in the Delta Quadrant. Admiral Janeway was a fucking psychopath.
Yeah,
Stole technology. Stole technology from the Klingons. Was willing to fight them. Went into the past to change history. Was going in to kill billions of Borg. Now, we don't mind that, but killed billions of Borg. Her descent into almost madness was complete by the time she became Admiral Janeway. So this is the consequences from this episode. This is the very first chink, the very first crack. The second thing I say is, this episode sets up Harry Kim for almost complete failure for the entire run of Voyager.
It really does. The poor fucker. Like, this guy gets
constant failure. He thinks, oh, you know what? Me and Lieutenant such and such are going to play in a band together. Like, fuck you are. You got friend zoned immediately, buddy, and that's how it's going to go the entire fucking run. If we're going to judge on,
he didn't get friend zoned all the time. The one time he didn't get friend zoned, he got an STD. So, you know.
No, he didn't get friend zoned all the time, but he was fucking set up for failure all the time. For the fact that Tuvok got a promotion, that Tom Paris was demoted and promoted, and for an entire 7 seasons, Ensign Kim, who came up with some fantastic ideas, who saved the ship on innumerable occasions, not even a glimmer of sure, we'll make you make a lieutenant. Go on, fuck it, we'll go with no. So constant failure. And if we were to judge it just on that, it would get a 20. Don't mind a 10, 20. But we're judging it on the consequences, and I think genuinely do believe the consequences are, this is the start of the fall of Captain Janeway, or their descent into ever so slight madness. I'd say an 8.
Okay, I was gonna say a 6. So would we say a 7 then?
I'll go with 7. I'll go in the middle.
Okay. All right then. So we go with a 7 then altogether. So, have you done your maths, Jerry? Do you know what the final score of this episode is?
I don't work for a bookies anymore. I ain't counting shit.
You fool! That's what spreadsheets are for. Right then, I can tell you outright. Okay, so I will again. We'll have the full list of the actual shall we say the full scoreboard coming up soon. But the Thaw does rank with an 84.5 out of 100. So it is now currently sitting 7th in our all-time list.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So the current top 10, if you like, is, well, we actually have a joint 10 is no small part, the lower decks season finale and the Visitor from Deep Space Nine. They're both sitting at 83.5. The Emissary is sitting at 84, currently in 8th place. The Thaw beats the Emissary by half a point.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then by half a point is the Year of Hell. So then we have 2 Voyagers.
2 Voyagers in the top 10.
Yeah, 2 Voyagers in the top 10. How about that? Amok Time still sits as 5th overall with a decent score of 88. And then we're into our 90s club, Jerry. We've got the 4th place at the Best of Both Worlds at 90.5. In the Pale Moonlight and Equality of Mercy joins 2nd at 91. And still the runaway leader at the moment, Yesterday's Enterprise at 95.5. Again, we have the full list of episodes we've watched over the series coming up on screen. But that is our current top 10. And I have to say, like, it's one of those things where, like, I don't think I really appreciated how good this episode was until I watched it critically and I saw what it was doing. I really felt at this, like in this one in particular, like again, this episode is one of those ones where it had no right to be this good.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of those episodes coming up in this run. Again, I mentioned Duet and the Wounded. I would throw in our Deep Space Nine entry for this dark horror arc coming up as well. They're low key, really underrated episodes that when you actually you almost take them for granted a little bit when you're watching them, and then when you actually put a more of a critical eye to it, and you're noticing a camera angle here or a character wrinkle here and so forth, it actually makes the episode look so much better. And you're thinking like, fuck, like was the show always this good? Was I the asshole here? Was I not giving it too much credit? And I think that's what I feel like after watching this episode. I was thinking like, yeah, I knew this episode was good, but I couldn't pinpoint why. And now with a critical eye, I can say, yeah, that's why it was. It was all that scene. It was all the character writing from that point. And again, it's a throwaway episode. But much like with everything else with Star Trek, there's always something to take away from some of those episodes. Nothing is ever really a throwaway episode. There's always something to take out of it. Until later stage Voyager, where they literally are throwaway episodes. But not at that stage yet. But at least like everything has been built. Everything has a point at this stage, and this certainly does have a point, even when it doesn't seem like it is. But also goes to show you as well. It shows you how effective you can be when you have absolutely nothing at your disposal. When you don't have a budget because like you're saving up for stuff later on. Like the episode after this is fucking Tuvix. You know what I mean? Like this is like so like the end of season 2 is not half bad, but the money has gone elsewhere in the season. This is just a genuinely good premise, written well and effective and executed like perfectly, with brilliant acting, with brilliant camera work and brilliant production. What more do you want in an episode of Star Trek? What more do you need? And that's where we're at now. So yeah, that's the Thaw. And I will say I don't know if I was expecting it to rank that high, but I'm glad it did, because I think like I said, I think it shows you that Voyager is better than we remember sometimes.
Yep. I agree.
So with that in mind, I don't know if we're going to get the exact same energy from this, but we are going to try to do the same with Enterprise in this year's run of episodes. So we are going to Enterprise for our conflicts arc very, very soon, but we do have one step along the way in our dark horror arc, and this episode we're going to be doing is called Impulse. Best way to describe it is basically Star Trek's take on a zombie flick, on the Evil Dead slasher type of zombie episode, where basically Vulcans have gone crazy and it's time to fucking shoot them. Essentially, it's the best way to describe. Oh yeah, fucking like Jonathan Archer's dad is buzzing for this episode, I can tell you that much. But because he's got strong feelings on them, I can tell you that much. But yeah, that's the episode we have looking forward to. Again, very very different to the episode we've just had. It's not a cerebral one for any stretch of the imagination, but I still think it's going to be entertaining nonetheless. It's gone to the opposite scale now, where we're getting the blood and gore box ticked of this arc. So yeah, that's our next step, and I'm sure we'll both be looking forward to that. I'm sure. But in the meantime, that's the end of this episode anyway, for the time being. And as ever, Jerry Soul, see that you are the actual popular person on this call, and you are contractually obliged to tell us what the hell you're doing with your life. So you mentioned Comic-Con, Dublin Comic-Con, that went very well recently. You got to rub shoulders with Mark Shepard, or rather, you were like Mark Shepard did a panel with you. I think is the more appropriate way of describing it. Yeah.
Effectively, I was an audience member, really. Generally, when it comes to guests and doing the panels at Comic-Con, I would go out first. I would take a mic. I would go out first. I'd talk to the audience for a couple of minutes, and then I'd say, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome blah blah blah." And I did that for the entire weekend. I did that with the Grand Theft Auto 5 panel with the 3 actors that were on that, which were lovely. Three lovely guys. Couldn't stop cursing. But who fucking could? Ah, fucking hell.
Yeah.
They were great. I also interviewed Craig Fairbrass, who is in, my God, like when you look at the backlog of his work, I didn't realize until I was starting to do research. He was his first big Hollywood role was Cliffhanger.
Really?
I didn't know this. I'm like, wow, cliffhanger. I'm like, right, okay, and then it just kind of spiraled after that. Not spiraled, sorry, it just the rocket up his arse from there, and he was just in everything. Um, we were kind of talking on stage, and I think at this point, it's like it's not quite as serious as his other stuff. But he was in EastEnders.
Yeah.
He has this whole series now of Rise of the Foot Soldier, and they're doing another one as well. He's in One Piece, which is the new Netflix show. Absolutely fantastic. It was great to chat with him as well. But like that, I invited him out onto the stage, and he came out, and away we went. Whereas I got backstage for I got backstage for the Mark Shepard panel, and Mark Shepard just looks at me and says, "Good luck." I'm like, what? He says, "Don't worry about it. You'll be bored. It's fine. You'll be bored." I'm like, okay. He says, "Just so you know, like I've been asked all these questions a million times before, so you can never ask me a question that I don't know or haven't heard." And I'm like, well, that's challenge accepted at this point, because I'd been given a few tidbits from my senior co-host, which is Olivia from Geek Ireland. And she gave me a few little tidbits just to kind of throw in there. Now, I didn't really need all of them. I just needed one because, as I say, I go out, introduce the guests, they come out and have a chat. I said, okay, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to introduce you. And he just said, fuck that. Pushed me out on the stage and followed me out. And I was like, ladies and gentlemen, Mark Shepard. Yay. And he's like, right, you sit down. Right, who's got a question? And I'm like, oh, okay. And I just sat there for 40. So we had two couches. So one was for me and one would have been for him. I sat on the stage, on the couch, for 45 minutes without uttering a word, without asking a question, nothing. He eventually came to me, he says, right, what have you got? And I said, well, at this point, I've only really got one question. We haven't got much time left anyway, so I've only got one question. Tell me about your two very special Irish guitars. And you could tell at that point that I had one, essentially.
Yeah. Because
he looked at me and just almost like didn't wink, but it's almost like a little sliding. You got me, you fucker. A little slide, and then he starts telling the audience about these two very special Irish guitars. If you haven't seen the panel, I would encourage you to watch it. It's Dublin Comic Con, all one word, on YouTube. I'll give you a brief overview of what the story is about. He goes into detail as well about his health battles that he had before. Just before Christmas, he had 6 heart attacks, which is known as the Widowmaker. So he was nearly dead. His survival rate was in single digits. He's still here to tell the tale, which is fantastic. It's absolutely brilliant. He's very humbled by the response he gets at Comic-Cons and stuff like that. So he does love the crowd, even though it might come across that he doesn't. He really, really does. But regards to his story about the two Irish guitars, he is essentially Irish. Even though he was born in England, he holds an Irish passport. His entire family is Irish, and he's just sorry that he wasn't born here. But there's nothing he could do about it. He was born over in England. He lived here for many, many years. He was in a band here, and that's where the idea of these guitars came up. So back in, I believe it was the 80s, when Dublin was becoming kind of fairly like let's say metropolitan, I suppose.
Yeah.
And things were starting to be filmed here, and music videos and things like that. But the city itself was getting busier and busier. This was back when the Halfpenny Bridge would have only had about 800 people going across it a day. You probably have 800 people going over every few minutes. It's how it is. So they made the decision back then that they needed to change the Halfpenny Bridge from being a wooden bridge to a kind of steel metal construction. So they did that. They changed around, and the wood from it went up to Harlan and Wolff, which is in itself is a fantastic story. But it was himself and his father that decided we need to save some of this wood, and they went to Harlan and Wolff. They got a massive slab of this wood that was originally the Halfpenny Bridge, and they got 2 guitars made from the wood of the old Halfpenny Bridge. Now, if that's not the most Irish fucking thing ever, I don't know what is. Well, let's up the ante. Embedded into the wood of both guitars, are two halfpennies. So
I mean,
that's
yeah,
Quinta. That is he. Even though he wasn't born here, he's Irish. So I said to him, I
he's
said,
Irish man. Yeah,
so we can claim you, yeah? And he was like, yeah, fuck it. He said, I know I don't have the accent. I don't care. I'll still
yeah,
drink.
it'll come with time.
I'll still drink you all under the table. I'm like, oh, okay. You certainly
Yeah.
would with me because I don't drink. But no, really nice guy. It was a fantastic weekend. I can't thank the organizers enough. I really, really can't because um, it was just fantastic. On the run up to the show, there had been certain videos and things that have been going online, and even after the event, the more stuff went online. And I'm all for listening to criticism and to genuine concerns of people, and of course that's what happens. They do get listened to. It's not just no, that person's being a baby. No, that's not what we think. That's not what the guys think at Dublin Comic Con. It's really not. They put so much time and effort and money into the shows, and when people accuse them, oh, you're only doing it for the money, I think it's a disgrace. One of the main complaints, and I laughed when I saw this. One of the main complaints was, "Oh, ticket prices have gone so high." I'm like, "Oh, really? So what about your rent?
Yeah.
What about your shopping? What about your electricity and your gas? Have they not gone up? So you just expect everything to go up and not the ticket prices at Comic Con? Well, I know how much the rent for one day of the convention center cost 7, 8 years ago. I can only imagine what it costs now for one day. And you really think they're just going to, oh, sure, well, no, we'll just pay for that and we'll keep charging them the same amount. No, it's like everything in the world, everything goes up in price. You see people, you can't get a €5 pint in Dublin anymore, folks. The new price is about 650, 660. Just the way it is. Your rent is $2,000 now. Easter eggs. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Easter eggs now that you can buy are very small. They're only yay big, right? That's apparently a medium egg, and it costs €3. But it's only a little bit bigger than a normal chicken egg. But yeah, that's a medium egg. So these prices go up, and I just see all these things coming in about Dublin Comic Con. I was like, you know what? If you have constructive criticism, get in contact with the people that know, and something will be done about it. And I've seen it. Anything that happened at the con, I was there. I saw stuff happening, and it was dealt with immediately. So it just annoys me. It really, really annoys me when I see this stuff. But listen, Comic Con is there. It's not going anywhere. It's growing. It's learning. It's improving. It's adapting. I'm going to do it with them. Fingers crossed. They'll keep me on board. And of course, we have Kate Mulgrew as the very first guest announced for August. And it's such a huge guest. I'm like, yeah. I can reveal one thing. I can't say a name, but there will be a second Star Trek guest at Dublin Comic Con. I can't say who. I've been sworn to secrecy, but it's a doozy. It is a doozy. It really, really is. So I can't wait for that. It's coming up. I think it's the 24th, 25th of August.
24th, 25th of August.
Yeah, 24th, 25th of August. Really, really looking forward to it. We'll have many episodes between now and then to get through.
We will.
And then we'll get to finally meet one of the captains, and I can't wait for it. I really, really can't wait for it. So I've been very lucky to be a part of it, and long may it last.
Absolutely, and like I said, we'll be building up to that. You'll be seeing kind of Jerry kind of shaking more and more as the big day comes, where he's just kind of vibrating like he's sitting on a like he's like a massage chair just for the occasion. But no, that's just his natural nerves because he's living a dream here.
I'm already shite myself.
You'll be fine. I'm sure she's lovely. But yeah, nevertheless, that's what's happening in the world of Jerry Soule. For me, I've got nothing else on bar running this channel. So by all means, subscribe to Nerds or Us and hit the bell because I've just given up on Twitter because Elon Musk is a prick. So so essentially, it's the best way to keep in touch with everything that we're doing on this channel. So again, if this isn't your liking, but if you enjoyed our content, there's more for you here. We've got wrestling content, we've got non-wrestling content, gaming, football. We've even restarted Watch Graps with me, which was from the first year of this channel. So we're really diving into the recycling bin and seeing what we can find. So yeah, we've got loads of stuff on this channel for you to enjoy, and hopefully you have enjoyed this video. If so, let us know. Interact as you would normally on YouTube with your likes and your shares. If you agree with our score, let us know. Have we scored too high? Have we given it too much credit? Have we done it a disservice? Let us know. We want to hear from you. And again, we would love to hear ideas you have for future arcs, because again, we are smack bang in the middle of our horror arc here. We have conflicts arc coming up soon, which will lead us seamlessly to the Way of the Warrior double header, which Jerry is very excited by. But we will need suggestions after that. So by all means, we want to hear from you. Let us know what you would like us to review in the future. But for now, Jerry, I think that's everything we can cover in this time. So as we always do, we leave you with a very solemn message.
Fuck Elon Musk.
Harsh, to be honest here, thanks.